Hello and welcome to 360 Health. Thank you for joining us. I am Ogechukwu Ukekwe. Ministers of health from African countries with the highest burden of malaria have pledged commitment to the ending deaths from the diseases, as the African region accounts for 95% of malaria deaths globally. The World Health Organization revealed this on its official website that the ministers at the conference held in Cameroon signed a delegation committing to accelerating actions and pledged to sustainable and equitable address the threat of malaria in the African region. According to World Health Organization, the African region is home to 11 countries that carry approximately 70% of the global burden of malaria. It noted that the high-burden countries have had regeneration in the fight against malaria since 2017. The Cameroon conference was co-hosted by the World Health Organization and the government of Cameroon, attended by ministers of health, global malaria partners, funding agencies, scientists, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Ali Pate, has said about 1 million children under 5 years old died every year in Nigeria from diseases, including vaccine prevention ailments. The minister, who disclosed this while speaking on several issues during an interview with newsmen, said 70% of the dead were prevented. Pate said President Bola Tinubu's government targeted policies that would directly touch the lives of the masses, adding that the investment in the health sector was one of them. He said that many tools were being deployed to contain malaria fever in Nigeria, including the use of mosquito nets and vaccines. According to him, Nigeria was ready to deploy the new malaria vaccines in the country as soon as possible. The Federal Minister of Environment has recently launched the National Derization Framework exercise as part of its efforts to prevent the country of spread of Lassa fever in Nigeria. Minister for State and Environment Adekunle Salako said the development was necessary because the environmental sector is to provide solution and make the environment safe and conducive for the vector to grow because it is responsible for the diseases. Similarly, the Registrar of Environmental Health Control of Nigeria, Yakubu Mohammed, said that the minister's directive on all the facilities, whether public or private, should undergo the rating exercise, after which they will be issued the rating exemption certificate for Environmental Health Council of Nigeria. Yakubu emphasized that another approach to combat the spread of the diseases is by gathering the grassroots. It is a collective responsibility as the government is doing their job and citizens should do their parts. According to a health official, no less than 564 patients out of the 636 recorded cases of meningitis outbreak in Yobe have recovered. The Disease Surveillance and Notification Officers Primary Health Management Board, Haruna Umar, disclosed this in an interview with newsmen on Monday in Damaturu. Umar said that 22 deaths had been recorded, with 564 patients fully recovered, while the remaining 50 were being observed and managed at the isolation center. He said that the first suspected case was recorded on 24 December 2023 and confirmed on 26 January. He also highlighted that the 636 cases were recorded across 6 local governments. The health officials assured that the government has taken proactive measures to curb the spread of the diseases in the states. Meningitis remains a public health concern in Nigeria, with outbreak reportedly in recent years, with the support from the World Health Organization. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention is implementing response measures at the national level. According to WHO, Nigeria has reported a total of 1,686 suspected cases of meningitis, including 124 deaths. For a case fatality ratio of 7%, Nigeria is first country to receive the new Men5 vaccine from the GAVA-funded global stockpile to respond to meningitis outbreak amongst children. The WHO, in a national coordinating group on vaccine prevention, approved the deployment of 1,433,077 doses of Men5 in response to Nigeria's request. We'll take a short break and the program will continue shortly.
Corruption not in my country.
Now, yeah.
Yes, Oga.
Okay. Where I go come find 300 naira change?
I better try look for change now. When they do business. Hey, Timmy. I did, bro. I be. I beg, give me 200 naira. Make I take sort out this guy. If let's say no get change.
Take it, give us.
I said 200.
Give her 100 naira.
Yeah.
Okay, I agreed to pay 200.
How much you think they carry people from that place we carry the chair?
Okay.
Not they touch me.
Now 100 naira. He agreed to pay.
Because that was what you said was the fair. Why you not go pay you? Why you they extort your customer? You see this corruption, what would they hear for news? They see for people everywhere. Now be this so. This is corruption, not in our country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Welcome back. Joining me to discuss this further is Dr. Irewole Debello, internal physician and member of the Rapid Response Team for COVID-19 Niger State. Thank you for your time. So, sir, we have seen recurrent cases of meningitis and Lassa fever in Nigeria, particularly in the north. Why is this so?
Well, the issue of Lassa fever and meningitis, they have become like endemic in the country. And to answer your question, why is it so? It's multifactorial. One of the reasons is for this season particularly seems to be the season where we have recurrence of meningitis. And even though despite all government efforts with immunization scheme and all that have been put in place, we find out that, from COVID-19 break, the break in vaccination because of COVID-19, and then with the incessant insecurity that is worse in the north, is making them worse hit by meningitis. And then the same thing for the Lassa fever. The reservoir of the Lassa fever, which is this multimapmate rat. They are commoner in this season, the dry season, when people burn bushes and all of these things, bringing these animals out from their natural habitats. And then they come into the society, people are exposed to it, people are in the farm spreading their grains on the road and all of those things. And then they become victims of these viruses and this infection. And so it is predictable that we are having this epidemic at this time, and it's also understandable that it is worse in the north because of the level of insecurity that appears to be going on in that region.
Okay, sir. So, what are the risks of this spreading to other parts of Nigeria?
Well, it's like we said, it's worse in the north. Does not mean it's predominant in the north. For instance, Lassa fever, the current statistics shows that 65% of reported cases of Lassa are taking place in 3 major states: Edo, Ondo, which are not primarily in the north. And then I think we have Taraba and then some other states. Although it has been reported in like 21 states, but 65% actually from these first 3 states. And so you see that it's not majorly in the north. But for the meningitis, essentially, it's what is more predominant in the north. There is something called the meningitic belt that cuts across the northern part of Nigeria. So there are areas that are usually predisposed to meningitis. And so to stop it from spreading to other places is health education, essentially, that people are aware of these diseases. They know how to protect themselves, they know what to do, they know the cases to report, and then the health institutions themselves need to be equipped and to be ready to militate against the spread of these diseases.
Okay, sir. So what do you think are the possible symptoms of these diseases?
All right. Well, they are not twin disease, so they have their specific signs and symptoms. For instance, In meningitis, of course, there will be presence of high fever. Usually there's headache. There can be neck pain and stiffness. Then what we call photophobia, that is the person just wants to close the eyes, doesn't want entrance of light into the eye. And then some can go on to unconsciousness and then some other manifestation. Because of the strain of organism that actually cause this epidemic form of meningitis, sometimes there may be development of rash in the skin that may be seen and then like that. Why for Lassa fever, surprisingly, statistically, 80% of people that come in contact with this virus actually remain asymptomatic. What that means is that they don't manifest any signs and symptoms. So it's just about 20 to 25% of people that come in contact with this virus that actually manifest signs and symptoms. And then symptoms are usually non-specific initially, from fever to malaria, what we just call this generalized body weakness, joint aches, muscle aches, generally speaking. And then some can now proceed to start having pharyngitis, that is sore throat, difficulty in swallowing, pain on swallowing, essentially. And then when it gets to the extreme end, you can start having bleeding from the nose, vomiting blood, and bleeding from all other body orifices. So these are the signs and symptoms. But essentially, at least for both diseases, fever is a primary symptom that is common to them both.
All right, Dr. Bello, we'll take a short break and be right back. We'll take a short break. The program will continue shortly.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. We are still discussing meningitis and Lassa fever outbreak in Nigeria. Dr. Bello is still my guest. So, doctor, what are the ways of contacting meningitis and Lassa fever?
All right, thank you very much for this question again. For Lassa fever, essentially, Lassa fever is the reservoir is this, the common reservoir is this multimammate rat, the one we call the Mastomys natandensis. So essentially, when there is droppings, maybe from urine, from saliva, from feces of the rat into food stuff, that's the rodent to human transmission, and somebody consumes such foodstuff, especially like, some people spread this gari, spread their grains on the ground, and then this rat can walk over it. Or when you have stored grains around and then they are not properly covered, and then these rats come over it, and then they pass their excreta or their saliva, and then that is a means of transmission. We also have human-to-human transmission. Essentially, is when an infected person or an individual comes in contact with body fluids of an infected person. It can also contract the Lassa fever. While for the case of meningitis, essentially there are various causes of meningitis, from viruses to fungi to bacteria, but this common one that causes epidemic is usually of bacterial origin. And again, there are many bacteria that can cause meningitis, but for when you have an epidemic case, it's commonly caused by the Neisseria meningitidis. So essentially, it's also from, it can be contracted as droplets. Essentially, that is aerosolized droplets. When someone that harbors maybe this organism coughs or sneezes into the air, and then another person takes the breath in. And one of the reasons why it's even commoner in this period is because of the the air. You know, the air is quite dry, there's low humidity and all of those things. So those things cause some form of injury along the airway, dryness, and abrasion. And so when someone inhales polluted air like this, they can contract meningitis. Of course, there are other forms, but they are not common in epidemic, like the hematogenous spread, that is through blood, then contiguous organs, like when someone has an ear infection, other infection around the head and neck, it can easily spread to the meningitis, meninges, that is the covering of the brain. But in an epidemic like this, usually is the aerosolized droplets that is the common cause.
Okay, doctor. So how do you think these diseases can be prevented from spreading?
Oh, thank you very much again, which is the most important thing, that we understand that these diseases are with us. Lassa fever has been here. It was discovered in Nigeria in 1969 and is still here with us. Meningitis is present with us. And the most important thing is, how can we prevent the spread? For Lassa fever, unfortunately, till date, there has been no approved vaccine to prevent the disease. And so, although I know that works are being done to produce a vaccine as soon as possible, but the way to prevent it now is just the general hygiene, hand washing. Ensure that you wash your hands when you have contact with people, with things. Wash your hands very well. Let's practice it, regular hand washing. Then we should keep our foodstuff properly. Keep them properly. Ensure that our environments are free of dirt that can cause rodents to breed around, and then introduce some of these organisms to us. And as a matter of fact, again, we must ensure that if we notice anyone with symptoms suggestive, maybe high-grade fever, not responding to antibiotics, let them quickly report to the hospital before a lot of people get exposed to such individual. And in the case of meningitis, like we know, is a vaccine-preventable disease. And the government has actually tried in that regard. There is this yearly vaccination that takes place, nationwide vaccination, and then it has also been incorporated into the immunization schedule of the country. So it's for us to avail ourselves that opportunity. I know that the most recent epidemic that we have were of strains that were not commonly covered by the vaccines that we have available. But I know frantic effort is being made by the government to get other vaccine that can cover for this strain, that is the serogroup C, which is the one that is commonly causing the epidemic that we have now, different from the serogroup A that usually cause the epidemic. So we should avail ourselves to this vaccination. And again, prompt treatment. So when someone is noticed to have headache, fever, and all of these symptoms that we have highlighted, let them report promptly to the hospital so that they can be properly and holistically reviewed, and then, if possible, they can be treated with antibiotics. The response to meningitis is actually excellent with prompt antibiotics if the person presents early. Thank you.
All right then, Dr. Irewolede Bello, internal physician and member of Rapid Response Team for COVID-19 Niger State. Thank you for lending your thoughts.
Thank you very much. Honestly.
Well, that's all we can take on the program. Till I come your way next time. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.